What's going on, everyone? So first I wanted to say thank you very much for watching this video. This is the latest in my series of ranking videos. For those of you who don't know, what I like to do is I like to focus on the director and rank his movies from worst to best. The only thing is I don't add any documentaries, short films, or music videos, none of that. Theatrical movies or sometimes in streaming cases. I've done Martin Scorsese, I've done David Lynch, David Fincher, Wes Anderson, but as you guys probably guessed, this video is focused on Sam Mendes movies. Now, Sam Mendes, he's done 8 movies, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right. I apologize if I'm not, but he's done 8 movies, so I'm going to rank them from worst to best, number 8 being his worst, 1 being his best, of course, in my opinion. So, with all that exposition out of the way, let's get started. So, my number 8 is Spectre. This was a spectacularly disappointing movie. This was a really bad movie. I did not like it at all. I was surprised, honestly, if Sam Mendes did it, considering that the script is pretty bad. And it's surprising, too, considering that, I mean, the script writers were the same ones that did Skyfall, so what happened? I don't know, personally, but it's a shame, really, that he did it, because he's not doing the next one. So I kind of wish he had just done Skyfall and just left and let some other generic director do it instead. Instead, it's a movie that, unfortunately, is going to be his last place because I didn't like it. So that was my number 8. My number 7 is a movie that most of you probably haven't heard of, but it's called Way Wed Go. It's a small indie movie. I thought it was alright. I didn't hate it, but I also didn't like it. It's a movie that it's passable, and it's honestly kind of surprising that Sam Mendes did it, considering that none of his flourishes are there. I'm pretty sure Roger Deakins didn't even do the cinematography for this movie, and I don't think Thomas Doom did the score as well. And he also didn't have a lot of actors that he worked with before. So it's a movie that I feel like he wanted to do to be outside his box, and I don't think it fully succeeded. I thought it was alright. I wouldn't watch it again personally, and that's why it's number 7. Number 6 is a movie that I think it's good, and I definitely really respect with what it was going for, especially in retrospect. And I do kind of want to rewatch it, especially with the oil rig scenes. And that is Jarhead. Jarhead's my number 6. And Jarhead's a movie that's well acted, extremely well filmed. It's got a great score. Production values are really good. But it's a movie that also, I feel like expectations have a lot to play with whether or not you like this movie. I, for one, went into this movie thinking it was a war movie, which technically it is a war movie. But I thought that there was going to be action. There isn't any action at all. And that's what makes it so unique. It's focusing on the downward spiral of soldiers and all that they have to go through. And I think it's unique enough to where it's able to stand on its own for that. Unfortunately, character development is kind of backseat driving in this case. I mean, the character development is alright, I guess, but it's definitely not the main focus of the movie. And it's definitely something that, in my opinion, is a flaw of the movie, but at the same time, I like the messages. I think it's a very impactful movie, and I look forward to rewatching it. I do need to watch it a second time. So that's my number 6, and now we get into the Blu-rays. Number 5 is Revolutionary Road. Yeah, I really like this movie. I think that this movie is very underrated. I watched it around the same time that I watched Jarhead, and I've seen this movie many times since then. I think it's a very impactful movie. Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio are incredible together. Roger Deakins and Thomas Newman also give impactful technical aspects to the film, and the ending is also really emotional. And also, you just can't help but really enjoy all the dialogue, especially like the argument scenes. Like, nobody wants to see arguing, but unless it's in a movie, in which case it's a showcase of great acting, in my opinion. And Revolutionary Road, again, I think it's very underrated. I would highly recommend you check it out, and that's why it's my number 5. Now, that being the case, though, I do have to say that it's my number 5, so that means there's 4 movies I think were better. And that leads me to my number 4, which is 1917. 1917 is still in theaters, so obviously I don't own the Blu-ray or 4K yet, but I will say that I'll probably add it to my collection because it's a technical achievement. It's filmed to look like it's in one take, and I know that's been done before, but not for the war genre, to my knowledge at least. And on top of that, it's got all of Sam Mendes' trademarks. It's got a great production design, incredible score, great cinematography, as I already mentioned, attention to details, and just an overall impact that leaves you not fully emotionally invested, but still you respect it, just taking a seat back. I've only seen it once so far. I am planning to try to see it again because I do think it's a really good movie. But I do think that some of it's a bit slow, but that's just a nitpick at this point. But that's why it's my number 4. My number 3 is Skyfall. Yeah, Skyfall is a very important movie for me because Skyfall is actually the movie that, well, one of the movies that in 2012 got me into cinematography. Lincoln was one of them as well as Skyfall. It was the first action movie where I noticed that smooth camera work was in an action movie. At that point, keep in mind, if you guys were alive in 2012, you probably remember that before then, I mean, a lot of movies were, focusing on the shaky camera work, which it works in some cases, but most of the time, it doesn't. And Skyfall shows that, having smooth camera work with an action movie and doing it in an artful way, it does make it worthwhile. Now, I will say the only thing with this movie, and I love this movie, the only thing is that it is essentially like a British version of The Dark Knight, but that aside, I still think it's a really well-made movie, and I would highly recommend it. And that's why it's my number 3. Now, my number 2 is a movie that, believe it or not, is a comic book movie, technically. Like, it's based on comic books, and that's why my number 2. It's Road to Perdition. This movie is super underrated. I don't think that enough people talk about this movie today. I think it's a very, very, very well-made movie. I mean, we've gotten mob movies before and gangster movies, but this movie I feel like does it in such a unique way that you can't help but appreciate. Also, technical aspects are incredible, and the acting is out of this world great. Tom Hanks and Paul Newman are incredible. Daniel Craig's in this movie too. He's good in it too, and I can't say enough. Just go watch this movie. Yes, it's based on a comic book, but if I didn't tell you that, you wouldn't know it. Because this movie, it does feel very realistic, but at the same time, artfully done. And I would highly recommend it. That's why it's my number 2. Now, my number 1, before I put this bookcase, my poster, well, technically it's still there, but you probably can't see it. But I actually have the poster for my number 1 movie on Sam Mendes' list, and that is American Beauty. Some people say this movie hasn't aged well. I personally highly disagree. I think that this movie is incredible. I think it's a masterpiece of a film, honestly. The thing is with this movie also is it's incredible that Sam Mendes, this was his first movie, and he made a masterpiece that also happened to have won 5 Oscars. That's impressive, including Best Picture and Best Director. Very impressive. Definitely one of the best directorial debuts, if you ask me personally. But it's also a great combination of drama and comedy that has all the prowess of Sam Mendes movies that you come to expect. And yeah, you gotta look closer. It's a great movie. Would highly recommend it. If you didn't like it, that's fine. But for me personally, that's my favorite Sam Mendes movie. Now, again, if you're new to the channel, you probably don't know I do this, which is why I'm going to give this exposition. What I like to do at the end of these videos is I like to talk about if I like this director or not and his style. I personally like Sam Mendes a lot. He's a director that every single time a movie of his comes out, I am there. I'm there day one. I'm very excited for it because he makes great movies. Even his lesser work movies like Way Wed Go and Spectre, yeah, they're not great movies, but at the same time, they do have some things that you can appreciate, even if, as a whole, you can't see yourself rewatching. But all his other movies are great. I mean, they have some of the best, people behind the cameras working. Roger Deakins, Tom Newman, he knows how to pick his people, to work behind the scenes, and I love that about him. But more importantly, I think that he's just kind of underrated. That's why I'm also doing this list. I don't think many people talk about him and just what he's able to do. I mean, all of his movies have been very different. 1917 and Jarheads are the only 2 movies in the same genre. That's impressive because a lot of directors don't really go outside their comfort zone, but Sam Mendes does, and I think that's really great, especially since if I were to show you American Beauty and say Skyfall, you would not know that it's the same director. You just wouldn't. You wouldn't, and that's what's so great about his directing. He's able to camouflage, his style and to make it work for him, and I really appreciate that. So, guys, that's my Sam Mendes ranked list. Again, I'm very curious to hear your guys' thoughts on Sam Mendes movies. Rank them in the comment section below from worst to best. If you haven't seen them all, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, who else would you guys like me to, obviously rank? I've got Cindy Lumet as request, Alfred Hitchcock, Lars von Trier. Haven't forgotten about this, but as I said in my previous ranking video, it's a lot to do these videos, so it does take time, so just bear with me, please. So, but guys, enough of all that. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, I really do appreciate you guys' support. Don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.